Welcome, everyone. Last presentation of the day for you guys, and hopefully it's the best one and the one that you can take back a lot of information to your delis, because what we're going to talk about today is salary and wage planning, and you're in a tough situation as operators dealing with this. With the way the labor markets are right now, this is the most we've ever paid people before. There's the most concepts out there that are starting to poach people, and what y'all guys are having to deal with is something that it takes careful planning. It takes constant attention. And so this presentation, I'll tell you what it is. It's going to allow you to think more about the situations that you have back in your delis. It's going to challenge you on maybe thinking about, hey, I've always done it that way. Why? I'll tell you one thing it's not going to do is it's not going to be the silver bullet that fixes everything. It's not going to be the medicine that fixes everything for you. Okay? I don't have all the answers. In fact, we're going to rely on a lot of brain power in this room to help us vet this whole situation out. Okay? So, to lead us off, we want to look at some wage planning and maybe a situation that didn't go so well. Does anybody know who this person is? It's Bobby Bonilla. He's a six-time All-Star. He was pretty good back in the early 90s. The Mets actually paid him the largest contract of any MLB player back in 1991. And so, fast forward a little bit through Bobby Bonilla's career. It was an okay career, and take you to the year 2000. Bobby Bonilla is in his last year of the contract with the Mets, and the Mets owe him $5.9 million for that 1 year. Now, you guys know that, or maybe you don't know, the Mets are the other team in New York. And they felt like this year, 2000, that they had a really good shot at getting to the playoffs and getting through the playoffs. But one thing that was holding them back was Bobby Bonilla. He's older, towards the back end of his career, not hitting well, not fielding well, not very fast, and they owed him $5.9 million. That wasn't going to work for the Mets. It's not what they wanted. So they go to Bobby Bonilla and his agent and say, hey, listen, we got this new idea. We would like to defer paying Bobby Bonilla in the year 2000. I don't want to pay him now. We'll pay him in previous years. And if you allow us to do that, we will pay 8% interest on the sum of his contract. So Bobby Bonilla had a very smart agent and said, for sure, we'll do that. Bobby Bonilla doesn't need that $5.9 million right now. He's got endorsements and everything. So the Mets say, we're going to start paying him in 2011. So from 2011 to 2035, the Mets pay Bobby Bonilla $1.19 million a year. And for those of you that can't do the math, the Mets could have paid him $5.9 that year in 2000. Now, the total sum of his contract is $29.8 million. And he's been retired for 18 years. And the Mets still pay him every year. And so it's kind of a funny joke in the sports world. Every July 1st, they'll talk about this and say, hey, this is Bobby Bonilla Day. He's not even playing, but the Mets are still paying him. So it's easy to see that Bobby Bonilla's contract was not a good business decision for the Mets. And some of our objectives that we're going to be talking about is, why do you think the Mets made that deal with Bobby Bonilla? This is the interactive part.
They just freed up the money to use for
one investment for that 1 year.
Okay, so short-sightedness. Yeah.
So
they
for other players.
That's right. It was an emotional decision that they made. Just to give you a little bit of feedback or a little bit more detail into this story. At the time, Mike Hampton, who was a really good pitcher, was out on the free agency market for exactly $5 million. So Mets said, gosh, we got to get this guy. We got to free up this money so we can get this guy. So instant gratification, pressure, emotion, the threat of someone leaving, like not being able to get Mike Hampton. So as an outsider looking in, we see that this wasn't a good move. But the Mets at the time, they were in it. They were in that situation, right? I would imagine a majority of us sitting in this room have been in this exact same situation before, right? Backs against the wall, a lot of pressure, a lot of emotion, and I would be willing to make, because I run a store, I know, made a bad business decision, right? Maybe not 29 million bad business decision, but bad business. So in the remaining hour, we're going to talk about some perspective that will hopefully avoid you from making some of these decisions and emotional decisions. And I want to talk about two things: employee compensation and manager bonuses. We're going to break it down. So, to avoid making costly, bad business decisions, we need to understand our purpose. And we're going to go back to the basics, okay? This is another interactive part of the presentation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you these guys questions. You guys just shout it out, okay? So, employee compensation, should it be earned or given?
Earned.
Earned, great. Is the decision rooted in emotions, or is it a business decision? Business decision, good. Does it seek to reward performance or time served?
Performance.
Good. And should it foster growth or complacency? Good. Now for our manager bonuses. Should it be earned or given?
Earned.
Earned, good. What goals should it mimic? The individual goals or Jason's Deli goals?
Jason's Deli.
Good, we got a smart group here. Excellent. Does it seek to reward results or effort? Result. And should it foster growth of the store or the individual?
Store.
Good. Okay, for the sake of just, because the last room kind of had mixed emotions about this, we want manager bonuses to, or let me say, managers have different strengths and weaknesses, right? We don't want that bonus to be based on a manager's strength or weakness, right? In fact, I would argue that we already have goals that mimic an individual, that should mimic the individual, and we already have a program that fosters growth for the individual, right? Y'all know about that career development plan. So we're talking about manager bonuses here. So I just want to be clear, because the other room, I don't know, y'all are a lot smarter than them. So back to, we understand that it's easy. Y'all had all the right answers, but we're not on the spot. It's not always a black and white issue. It's sometimes we kid ourselves into thinking we're making a decision based on performance. But often, some percentage of that decision is based off of time served. You get what I'm saying? It's like, I'm going to give this guy a raise because he's been with me for X amount of years, right? Still makes a lot of mistakes, still comes into work late from time to time, but man, he's been with me forever. Okay, we still make some of those decisions. So when you're looking at this slide here, I want you to look at as the red line as kind of a continuum from 1 to 100. You want to balance yourself closer to what you guys, the correct answers that you may not always be 100%. Like I know this from experience that there's some MPs out there that, they have a manager bonus and they didn't get quite the results that they wanted, but their team put forth so much effort that they end up giving that bonus, okay? And all I'm saying, because it's not an exact science, is to be closer to what we're trying to achieve. Moving on to the next interactive slide. Got a lot of sayings here. I know y'all probably all seen them, but I'd like to just read them real quick. So, Jimmy, can you read these two right here?
Old ways won't open new doors. And then if you want something you've never had, then you've got to do something you've never done.
Okay. Christian Pike, can you read these two middle ones?
The most dangerous phrase in language is "we've always done it this way."
Good.
And
Go ahead.
insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Great. And Daniel Connor, can you read the two on the far right?
If you do what you always did, you'll get what you always got. If you don't like what you've been getting, then change what you've been doing.
We all know what these sayings mean, what they're trying to say, but are we really doing anything different? And that's what I want to concentrate on, this one right here. The most dangerous phrase in the language is, "we've always done it this way." Okay, quick story, and just so y'all know, Reagan allows me one CrossFit story per presentation, and I am that guy that annoys friends and family with CrossFit stories, so you only have to listen to one. So I've been doing CrossFit for about 5 years, and in CrossFit, every 3 to 4 months, you have to do what's called benchmark workouts, and it's basically so you can see your progression. You can see what you're doing right, and you can see immediately that you're working towards a better goal. And one of the simplest benchmark workouts, simplest based on movements, is you take a 20-pound med ball and you squat down, you throw it up 10 feet to a target, and you catch it again, and you do this 150 times for as quickly as you can, okay? And for the first 3 years, it's terrible. It's your lungs are on fire, your quads are about to blow out, and for 3 years, I put myself through. It was tough, and I think the first few times I did it in like 9 minutes, and then I got a little bit stronger. My endurance was a little bit better, and I was able to whittle it down to about 8 minutes and 45 seconds. And so when we would do this benchmark workout, I knew that I was going to be right around the 8:40 mark, 8 minutes and 40 second marks. Maybe I would do a couple seconds better. Maybe I'd do a couple of seconds worse, just depending on maybe I had too many beers the night before. So my coach came up to me one day and he said, "Hey, listen, we're having the benchmark workout tomorrow. Are you expecting to do anything different?" No, I feel like I'm working really hard. I'm dying out there. You can see it. He says, "Yeah, but your time hasn't been improving that much." And I was like thinking, well, come on, dude. Like, my time's pretty good. I mean, the pros do it in like 5 minutes. I'm sitting right around 8:40. I'm no pro, and I'm 40 years old, so come on. He says, "Let me offer you some advice. Every movement that you're doing during that workout needs to be efficient." And he said, "I noticed when you go to throw the ball up, you leave your hands up to catch the ball on the return down." He says, "How about this? You throw the ball up and then you put your arms down as quickly as possible to conserve energy in your shoulders." He says, "I promise you it'll help." said, okay. He videoed me a couple times. I felt like, okay, I got it, but I didn't really feel like it was going to do much for me. Next day, I go back to do the workout. I beat my time by 2 minutes. In fact, had he not been there counting for me, I would have thought that I miscounted. What I realized is that small, minute thing that I was doing that was different, I was actually putting my arms down to rest for a half second, that over a course of time, it added up, and I was able to decrease my score by almost 2 minutes. And so, this is what I want to talk about with our employee compensation. Are we really doing anything that's different? Like Troy said before, trying harder will not work. We've got to try something different. So I know, because I've worked in the store before, is that sometimes when people get another position, do another position, we give a raise, right? Sometimes we give a raise just for getting to work on time. Sometimes we give a raise because somebody's wanting to go to another one of our competitors. I want you guys to think about the way you do your own employee compensation. Are you doing the same thing? The same way we've always done it? Because here, I want to talk about 5 things that have been proven to motivate employees more than money. Okay? So we'll go through this. Learning and development. A clear path of progression. Recognition. Autonomy and responsibility in the work environment. So autonomy and responsibility. I was talking to an MP the other day, and he had a employee that been with him a little while, and the employee made a comment, said, I've been offered a couple of jobs that pay a little bit more than this. And MP was like, oh, really? He's like, yeah. And he goes, I'm telling you that because I choose to stay here. And MP was like, okay, tell me more. And the employee says, the reason is because you trust me to make decisions in the deli, and you trust me with a responsibility to, he had a couple of different things. He brought, whenever there was maybe a situation going on in the deli, he brought that to the manager meeting, and they talked about it and kind of vetted it out. He had a certain responsibility, the back of the house organization. That was his responsibility. He did the produce and that. It's those autonomy and responsibilities that the guy wasn't paying him anymore, and this guy, the employee was telling him, I could go somewhere else. And he wasn't saying that, like touting. He was saying it because he let the MP know that he appreciated these things that the MP was doing for him. I don't even know if the MP knew he was doing it, but you have a smart MP that's just kind of naturally happening. So I want to say, if you're giving a raise and that's the only tool in your toolbox, to keep your employees, then you either have the wrong employees or you're developing the wrong culture. Okay? There's so many things that we currently offer that can be leveraged to enhance your employees' work environment, and there are many ways that we can reward them other than giving them a raise. So let's kind of brainstorm this a little bit. Okay? Let's talk about examples that we can reward them other than giving them a raise. And I'll start us off. A handwritten letter. Has anybody gotten a handwritten letter from Joe to Taurus? It's pretty valuable. At least in my book it was, I talked to another person outside this industry, and they were talking to me about handwritten letters, and they said, how about a handwritten letter to an employee's spouse, thanking them for, hey, you know, your husband comes in here every day and bangs out catering while you get the kids to school. We really appreciate that. What about tuition reimbursement? This is more interactive part, so you guys kind of come with it if you got it.
I think a lot of my employees and managers know that, you know, their schedule is important to them, and then that's kind of how I can reward them. If they need a day off, you know, be it sick kid, you know,
Flexible schedule.
dentist appointment at noon, you know, just anything you can do to meet them halfway. You know.
Perfect. It's great.
I don't remember what it was called, the Give Back program from about, 6 or 8 months ago, like after busy catering.
Project
they
Share.
buy more Chick-fil-A and they love it, and I'll give them a budget, they go get tamales and let them choose what they want to eat, and we do
That's
that
great.
probably twice a month after a really big day.
It's great. Somebody brought up the fact that recognition in the pre-shift meeting, but here's a twist to it. They don't recognize them for the job that they did yesterday or that they've been doing. They recognize them by talking about something that happened great in their family. So for example, he was mentioning that he was recognizing one of the employees whose son had made it to the state championships in baseball. And that made that employee feel really good. Of course, we're all proud of our kids, right? The first two things on this list right here, learning and development and a clear path of progression, I don't know, but those sound very similar to me, or exactly what the career development path is. So, okay, so hopefully you're thinking a little more broad about your store's employee compensation. And I don't want to get twisted that I'm telling you guys that a handwritten letter is going to help you keep more employees than actually give them a raise. That's not what I'm telling you. I know about the real world. I've been living in it, okay? What I'm trying to tell you is that utilizing other methods to show your employees that they are valued and appreciated will prevent you from being backed into a corner where you're always trying to use raises as bribes to retain your people. So when you couple all these tools and a timely raise, you're establishing a culture that will be hard to leave. So now it's more than a job, it's a family thing, right? See what I did there? Wrapped in the tagline. But it's true. We have a culture of family. You can go into some delis and there are people that could go and make more money somewhere else, but they like being a part of that family. They like being a part of that group. It's their identity. It's what they love doing. It's what I love doing. Okay. So we need to talk about those timely raises, okay? So how do you decide if your employee compensation is set up to get the results you want? One of my mentors always taught me that I needed to come up with an easy way to remember things, to explain things. So in this situation here, I got the 3 P's for you. So when you're trying to set up to get the results you want to first pay for productivity. We pay for performance, right? We also pay for potential. We want to foster growth. We want to compensate employees that are going to be with us long term, that can do something for our deli. And lastly, is price, because I had to think of another P word there. But really what it is the cost of turnover. It's the cost of having to hire and to train someone else, right? So does this all make sense? We're okay. We're all on the same page. We know what our purpose is. We're going to think outside the box about other things we can compensate. or we can do instead of money. Now, let's go ahead and run the first example I gave you, the Bobby Bonilla situation, through this filter and see what happens. So, first of all, the deferred contract that they were doing for, the Mets were trying to do for Bobby Bonilla, it was a new thing back then. It was, it hadn't been done really before, and so it was new. So you got to give it to the Mets for thinking outside the box, trying to come up with a different way. Now, productivity. Did it produce productivity? Yes. They were trying to get someone that would actually help their team during that time. They were going to get better performance and somebody that would provide better results. Second one, potential. Did the decision to compensate Bobby Bonilla, was it because of his future potential? No, the guy's been retired. He's not giving them anything. So they didn't think about potential. And then the last one, price. I don't have to tell you guys what's better, to pay $30 million or to pay $6 million. We know that was a costly mistake that they had to, an expensive way to replace him. So here's the key nugget, guys. To effectively wage plan, you have to be proactive. You have to always have a plan so losing an employee won't force you to make an emotional decision.
It's a good
Okay.
time of year for that too, because a lot of, in the summer, typically, most stores are significantly slower in June and July. And then you roll into
Absolutely.
August, where it's one of your busiest months. You've got to start gearing up, and, you've got to, you maybe lay on a couple drivers because it's the summer and they've, left to go to jobs, or, you're going to need 6 or 7 drivers come
Absolutely.
August 1st. It's time to.
This is the
to
time
get
of
up.
year. I'm glad you saw that. That's a good segue into real life situations. Let's talk about those. A new restaurant opens up across the way. Maria, your recipe person, makes $10.50 an hour. She has over 10 years experience, and she came to you and said the new restaurant is offering her $15 an hour to work for them. You know you can't afford the wage increase, but you also know how great it is to have Maria making your recipes, and she's very efficient. Okay, so let's run this example. This is a real life example. Y'all got that? I mean, that happened to y'all last month, I'm sure. Right. So we're going to run this example through the 3 Ps. I'm going to give you some background on Maria. So her productivity. She isn't a top performer, but she does her job well. She takes frequent breaks, and her hustle doesn't impress you. But she's never been late, and you consider her consistent. Y'all can imagine Maria now in your minds? Okay. Potential. She's a level 2 employee and has been in the same position for 8 years. She doesn't seek out opportunities and hasn't shown interest in learning other positions or becoming a level 3. And then price. She's a solid recipe girl, and you know it would be hard to replace her and get someone that is reliable for $10.50. And you're a little concerned because 2 of her family members are also employees at the store, and you think that she has influence over them. So if you had to replace all 3, it would be very challenging, right? I know this because this has happened to me, and I know that it's happened to y'all. So what do? By running that scenario through the 3 Ps, in theory, you should not succumb to the pressure. But we know this is real life, right? Because of the emotions, because of the fear, I would guess that a lot of y'all in this situation would at the very least offer her some sort of raise. Am I right?
Not anymore. We made a mistake too many times.
Exactly.
They still end up leaving.
So this is what I want to challenge you guys with. This last part to effectively wage plan, you got to be proactive. You can't find yourself in that situation that Maria is kind of backing you into a corner. The examples that we talked about earlier, you have to have those talks to enhance Maria's overall feeling about her job, and you can't do it after the fact. You have to be proactive. So back to my silly CrossFit analogy, is that you have to do something that you're not used to doing that we haven't done before, and that's being proactive on this stuff. Going to Maria and having that conversation before she comes to you. Telling Maria what she has to do to get a raise in your deli. It's different. We don't typically do that. We have to talk to her about her potential. And it should go for everyone in your deli. If you can have these conversations about their wage and about planning before, some of them won't even go out and look. Or when they are approached with a new job opportunity, they won't bite. I'm sure many of us have been approached with job opportunities before that we haven't bid on. We haven't even looked into them because we love what we do here. It's not all about the money. Okay, I'm about halfway through the presentation, and I want you to know that I've spoken with other MPs and other DOs, and I've got real life examples for productivity, potential, and price. I have a list. I have them listed out. It's a one sheet that I'm going to insert here on this slide, and that way, on your own time, you guys can pull this up and read through it. So for time's sake, we're going to keep pressing on. Okay. So like I told you, we're going to talk about employee compensation, and we're going to talk about manager bonuses. I sent out a Google form to all MPs in the company, and I've worked with Brian, Hebert, and Bridget just about the paying out of the different levels, bonuses per month. And what I was trying to do is I was trying to find similarities in the bonus structures. And this is, the majority of the plans are set up similar to this. Don't get caught up if your plan is not. I'm just trying to show you what most of it is. So in order to be eligible for a bonus, it's usually paid between a level 6 and a level 8. The goals are usually based on same-store sales increase over last year. They meet or beat payroll budget, and they meet or beat food cost budget. And then here's kind of the kicker. The reward range is the bonus amounts were anywhere between $50 and $300 per goal met, meaning it wasn't an all or nothing. Each goal provided an opportunity to get a bonus. So this, like I said, this outlines what most of y'all are using. And I pulled some results for you guys. So this first one right here. This MP paid her managers $900 in bonuses in April, but only received a $400 bonus herself. This MP's managers hit 2 of the 3 goals, but because they had negative same-store sales increase, both the MP and the company lost money. This MP grew his profits. He, his managers, and the company all made more money in March. And then this last one, this MP paid out 3 managers $300 each in January, and he carried a negative $1,250 into February as a result. That's why he's like short and like malnutrition, because some bad decision there. So, with the current bonus structures we have, it's creating a huge variation in bonuses paid, and not all of them are guaranteeing results. Okay, so let's see, what do we do? How can we fix this? Once again, I got some 3 P's for you, okay? So looking back to the purpose, we want our managers to bonuses to be earned based on results and not effort. We want them to foster growth of the store while mimicking the goals and the vision of the company. And so we also want to get away from, it's the way we've always done it. We got some outside of the box thinking, but we also got a filter we can run it through. Okay? So the first one there is progress. You want the bonus to reward store growth. You want to be moving forward and promoting improvement. That's a given. Second one there, profit. Along with sales, profit is the real indicator that the needle is moving. So we want to increase the profits of the company. We want to increase the profits of the MP. And we also want to increase the amount of money that our assistants can make too, right? And then lastly, the plan. We got to keep things consistent. We want to grow sales, profits, and people. So your bonus structure should encourage this and be aligned with your business plan. Okay. Forewarning. This next slide is an example bonus structure. Don't look so hard at the numbers. It's the themes I want you to see. Okay? This is a very standard, middle of the road. I took out some guts of this P&L so you could get just the main components. And then I took a hypothetical / real bonus goal. And here's the first goal. Positive or flat in same-store sales percentage. To hit 29.5% food costs, or to hit 33% total payroll, that's salary, wages, and benefits. And for every goal met, each manager will get a $150 bonus, and then we're going to assume, for this sake, that there's 2 managers in the store. So before I go on, I want to ask you guys what you think. If we meet our sales goal, does it guarantee profit growth? Yes or no? No. If we meet food cost goal, is that going to guarantee profit growth? No. And if we meet the payroll goal, will that guarantee profit growth? No. Okay, so we know that no one of these goals standing on their own will guarantee us profit growth. What about if you hit 2 out of 3? Will that guarantee you profit growth?
Gives you a better chance.
It gets you close, but no.
Doesn't guarantee it though. What if you hit all 3? Does that guarantee it? No, it doesn't. So if your bonus structure is set up like this, it will fail to guarantee you profit growth every time. And also, because you're willing to pay out a bonus for each of these goals, in theory, you as the MP could be paying out more than you're actually making in bonus. Okay, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's actually look at this real quick to see an example. All right, so this is when one of the 3 goals are met. So I have the same sample P&L on this side, and then I have, this is when the sales goals are met. So you can clearly see, went from 225 to 230. And then this is what the MP would take home, and now this is what the MP takes home. By hitting the goal, he paid out $300. Now, did the company make more money? Yes. Did the MP? No. So it didn't meet that profit filter that we were talking about. And if you dive in, why did this happen? Take a little closer look. Look at the food costs. I mean, hell, they even did better in payroll. Still didn't amount to how bad they did in food costs. So we can see where this is a bad deal for the MP, where there's a flawed bonus structure. All right, so I told you we would look at what if 2 out of 3 goals were met. Same sample P&L right here. And this is when the sales and the food cost goals are met. So you can see the sales went up, food costs went down, met the goal. And then look at the return. Okay? In this situation, this bonus structure, thumbs up. By chance, you got lucky, and it gave you some profit growth. Because here's the next example. You hit 2, you hit your payroll and your food costs goal. Look what happened to your sales. Look at the variations in this take home here. It's a big problem, guys. Because if you can have a bonus structure that produces the wider range of results, both when 2/3 of the goals are met, you have some issues. So the $1 million question is, Travis, how do I avoid that? We're going to move on to the next plan. Your bonus structure should always follow a plan that should be aligned with the company. Everyone's working the same metrics, they're focused on the same goals, and they're obsessively disciplined about the same things, and it's going to be the fastest way to success. People, profit, and sales are the consistent metrics that are included in the company and store business plan. So let's keep this simple. Let's not overcomplicate matters. Your bonus structure. Use good to great techniques in confronting the brutal facts. Make your if your current structure is no good, once you identify a promising one, create a culture of discipline. Don't reward effort, reward results. So back to the $1 million question. How do I avoid this? Very simple. You make sure nothing is left to chance. Okay? When you come up with an idea and a plan, then you run it through countless scenarios to ensure that no matter the results, if the goal or goals are met, it will guarantee profit growth. Another good way to test your bonus structure is to take the last 6 months results and run them through the structure and see how it holds up. There are many types of goals and measures that will guarantee a profit increase. I'm not going to bias you with my own. Okay, maybe I will. But there have been some qualifiers in bonus structures. So a specific qualifier would be you have to beat last year's EBITDA profit by this amount in order to start to bonus. Okay? Those seem to work out a lot better than these bonus structures. Now, I will also tell you that this whole system is new to us. And so we're still working through it. And it's not a one-size-fits-all for everyone. Okay? We're learning. And I think the best place that we can learn from one another is by talking with each other. And at these sessions, we talk to other MPs to see what they have going on, see how their bonus structure is working out for them, and why they're doing it that way. Talk to your peers. And when you finally found that good structure and good plan, create an obsessive culture of discipline, and then lead by example by pushing that flywheel. Lastly, the last P, progress. What are you working towards? We're confronting the brutal facts. You want to be certain that your bonus structure guarantees progress. You want to set it up that nothing is left to chance or some random combination of results that you can't predict with 100% accuracy. Sales and profit growth are telltale signs of the needle moving, but you may want to consider people progress. We've talked about how people are motivated and looking for different aspects from their job. So it wouldn't be out of line to include a non-monetary goal or a non-monetary reward in your bonus structures that addresses the progress that you're looking for in your staff, in your team. Last slide, guys. Here's our review. Employee compensation. We're making good business decisions about employee compensation that requires you to think about the 3 Ps: productivity, potential, and price. We all understand that, right? We know that the key component of this employee compensation is being proactive about your employees' wages and intentional with your decisions. We know it's heading off at the path and not waiting for Maria to come to you for a raise. Avoid your own Bobby Bonilla day by doing so. I mean, we talk about it as sometimes being held hostage or terroristic threats, and this is what we're in right now. Manage your bonuses. In order for your bonus plan to help you move the needle, you need to think about the 3 Ps: the profit, the progress, and the plan. There are many resources out there to aid in successful bonus structures, so don't get locked down into thinking that money is the only motivator. It's not. We know this. You know this. Avoid paying more. Oh, this is Captain Obvious, but avoid paying more to your managers than the company and you are profiting. I say that it's Captain Obvious, but it's out there. It's going on. So be careful on that. Well, I appreciate all y'all's time. Y'all do a fantastic job. We wouldn't be where we are without y'all, and I thank y'all so much. So, thanks.
Thank you.